Washington mornings on the Mall.
105.9 FM.
And AM 630.
WMAL.
7:37 on WMAL. Brian Wilson, Tori Clark in today. Good to have you, Tori.
And you remembered my name.
I did remember your name, of course. How could I forget you? You're so important to me in my life. Let's talk about Stuart Varney, because he's a good guy. He's important to me as well. He's on the phone line. That's why I'm saying nice things about him. Stuart, how are you from your Fox Business Network? You doing okay?
I am doing very well, and I know Tori very well indeed. Okay, Brian?
All right.
Love to hear your voice, Stuart.
Thank you, Tori.
All right, Stu. So yesterday on this program, we read long sections of a letter from a Florida billionaire who owns this company called Westgate Resorts. His name is David Siegel. He wrote a letter to his 7,000 employees, and he said, look, you're free to vote as you want, but let me just say some things. If this administration is reelected and they do what they say they're going to do with taxes, I'm going to have no choice but to downsize my company. And the thing was said, vote is it's in your best interest, but here are some facts that you should consider. And I thought, absolutely, he has the right to say this to employees. Others thought it was like intimidation of employees. What do you think about that?
I think he's got the absolute right to say what he thinks to his employees. Does he or does he not have the right of free speech? I think he does. It's not like... look, we all have political opinions, and when we believe that politics will dictate the future of the company that I work for or I run, I have every right to say to state my political preference and to spell out why I think this way. I think the man has every right to do what he did, and I support him unequivocally.
And the larger point I made was, look, he has the right because if some of these employees are unionized, that they're hearing a very different version of this from their union, leaders.
Look, we're in a debate situation here at the presidential level, the vice presidential level, and across the country. We are debating America's future because we really are at a crossroads. There are two very distinct views of how America's economy should progress in the next 4 years. They are very distinct. They are polar opposites. All government all the time, or let private enterprise loose. There are two opinions here. I see nothing wrong with having that debate enjoined in the presidential debates, the Veep debates, across the country in the workplace. Debate it. Our future is at stake. What are we withdrawing from here? Free speech? Get out of here.
So, Stuart, I want to connect your world with sort of the entertainment world. We just spoke with Kasla, the guy who made the Atlas Shrugged 2 movie, which is coming out tomorrow. Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged, was this a big influence in your life, in your thinking, your philosophy about all things fiscal?
That's an interesting question, Tori.
Well, good. Heather came up with it, so I have to give her credit for it.
It's a good one. I did read Atlas Shrugged. I did read The Fountainhead when I was much, much younger.
You must have been minus 10.
Thank you very much. I was a socialist at the time. When I was a...
What?
Wow.
Yes.
Hold it. I've known
Stop
you.
the presses.
I've known you forever, and I never knew that.
Yes, I was at the London School of Economics, which is a hotbed of Marxism. It certainly was in my day. And I was a fellow traveler, just like everybody else. I was a socialist. But then I did a lot of traveling, and I went to socialist countries, and I quickly realized this stuff doesn't work. And then I went to Hong Kong, which is arch-capitalist.
Right.
I mean, there is no more free market place on the planet than Hong Kong back in the 1970s. I think it still is. But I was there, and that really turned my head around. And I did make reference to Ayn Rand. I did. I thought back to what I'd read and what I'd read about. And I guess you could say it did have some influence on turning me around and making me see the light, so to speak. There's a long-winded answer to your question, Tori.
No,
Fascinating.
it's great to hear. I also find it fascinating. I read something a few weeks ago about we've long passed the stage where people writing things can really influence popular opinion and culture and things like that. But amazing that this book is coming back in the way it's coming
1957.
back. 1957. It is having an enormous impact now, possibly more real impact on people's behavior than it had back in 1957.
Well, what's the gentleman, Friedrich Hayek, The Road to Serfdom? I read that years and years and years ago, too. And you could say that was part of the mix of influence that turned me around, because that really was a remarkable book. I recommend it to her. I actually gave a copy of that book to my children. as they were getting older.
God bless you.
Yeah, just this sort of, hey, and also I gave them Animal Farm by George Orwell.
Good for
wow.
you.
Well, they're books that are relatively easy to read, and they're short, sharp, and to the point, and they represent free market thinking, in my opinion.
Yeah.
God bless
So
you.
I gave it to them. Now, whether they all read this book, I don't know. I've got 6 children, remember. So whether they all read it or not, I don't know. But I'll tell you one more thing. Tonight, my 16-year-old daughter is having a party at my house, inviting friends over for the sole purpose of watching the vice presidential debate. How about that?
Spectacular. That is spectacular.
It is, isn't it?
That's
I'm very
great.
proud.
Well, you should be proud. That's quite awesome. Stuart Varney from the Fox Business Network, always a pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for joining.